It was supposed to be a last throw of the dice in the West. Conceived by Hitler in late 1944, the Ardennes offensive had one major objective. Wehrmacht and Waffen-SS Panzer and Volksgrenadier divisions would punch through the thinly held American front line in the hilly and forested Ardennes region of Belgium and Luxembourg and race west, cross the river Meuse into open country and capture the Allied supply port at Antwerp. Hitler's intention was to split the Anglo-American armies and bring Churchill and Roosevelt to the negotiating table before transferring the bulk of his armoured forces east to deal with the Soviet juggernaut. The generals were unimpressed, believing the objectives too ambitious, but they nonetheless carried out their orders in the climate of fear and suspicion following the July bomb plot attempt against Hitler. The Germans managed to gather together an impressive force. In the initial attack on the 16th of December 1944 were 13 Volksgrenadier divisions and 7 Panzer divisions, totaling 406,000 men, 560 tanks and nearly 670 tank destroyers and assault guns, facing just 6 US infantry and 2 armoured divisions of 229,000 men and over 900 tanks and assault guns. But the Germans were not as strong as they appeared. There were critical shortages of fuel. Many infantry units relied entirely on horses to move supplies, and many men were unfit, undertrained or unskilled in battle conditions. Much has been made in the history books of the superbly equipped Waffen-SS Panzer divisions and their performance during the offensive, with particular emphasis on Kampfgruppe or Battlegroup Piper, a massively armoured force that punched through US lines and advanced steadily west until surrounded and destroyed. But the furthest west penetration was achieved by a regular army panzer unit, getting to within just 5 kilometers of the river Meuse and causing panic in Allied command. The unit came close to reaching the open country beyond the Meuse and partially achieving one of Hitler's objectives. This is the story of Kampfgruppe Böhm of the 2nd Panzer Division. On the 16th of December 1944, following a vicious artillery bombardment, pioneers and Panzergrenadiers of the 2nd Panzer Division crossed the Our River and assaulted the village of Marnac. The village was skillfully held by troops of the US 28th Infantry Division. The 2nd Panzer Division wanted to clear the village and then move onwards to Bastogne, which was a major junction for several roads in the Ardennes. They managed to push back the defenders using tanks once a 60-ton bridge had been laid over the river. Early on the 17th of December, the 2nd Panzers reached Clairvaux, or Clerf in German, but were stopped again by Shermans of the 70th Tank Battalion. 4 Panzer IVs were knocked out for the loss of 3 Shermans, but eventually German pressure overwhelmed the defenders, destroying most of the remaining Sherman tanks while US forces pulled back, 128 men making a valiant last stand in Clairvaux Castle until they surrendered the following day. To protect the road to Bastogne, Combat Command R of the US 9th Armored Division had set up roadblocks. Kampfgruppe Böhm managed to smash through some of these. The Kampfgruppe consisted of the 2nd Panzer's Reconnaissance Battalion, with armoured vehicles, and 1 company of the 3rd Panzer Regiment with 14 Panther G tanks. The 2nd Panzer Division now swung to the northwest past Bastogne and maintained its westward advance. Delays caused by stiff US resistance meant that the Americans were able to rush reinforcements to Bastogne. Team de Saubry of Combat Command B, the US 10th Armored Division, deployed at Noville, a village north of Bastogne. Vicious fighting continued in and around Noville for 2 days, but Kampfgruppe Böhm was sent on, bypassing Noville to the north on the night of the 20th of December and capturing an intact bridge over the Ourthe River at Ourtheville. This opened the road to the towns of Marche and Namur. But the battle group couldn't move. The tanks were out of fuel and forced to sit tight and await fuel trucks struggling along the poor road system. If they had been properly supplied, the 2nd Panzer Division would have crossed the Meuse on the 21st of December. The fuel delay allowed elements of the US 84th Infantry Division to occupy Marche. Refueled, the panzers rolled again at nightfall on the 22nd of December and straight into a stiff battle for Marche. Leaving a blocking force at Marche, the bulk of the 2nd Panzer turned west towards Dinant and the Meuse River. In the lead once again was Kampfgruppe Böhm, closely followed by Kampfgruppe Kochenhausen. Korkenhausen was a much stronger force with a battalion of Panzer Grenadiers in armoured half-tracks, 32 Panther tanks, an armoured artillery battalion with 10 Vesper and 6 Hummel self-propelled guns, and supporting units. Kampfgruppe Böhm raced up the highway towards Dinant, scenting victory. It reached the woods near Celle in the early hours of the 24th of December. Its armoured spearhead, the Panther tanks, was now only 9 kilometres from the Meuse River bridges. But problems soon arose. The US 2nd Armoured Division began to arrive northeast of Celle. Combat Command A blocked the further advance of the 2nd Panzer Division, and the leading Kampfgruppen were cut off. Kampfgruppe Böhm had pushed on to the village of Foy-Notre-Dame. Its further advance towards the Meuse was stopped not by the Americans but by the British. Kampfgruppe Böhm ran into tanks of the British 29th Armoured Brigade guarding the vital Meuse bridges, losing 3 Panthers and several other vehicles in a nasty exchange. The reconnaissance battalion now ran out of fuel, and its tanks and men took up defensive positions. The leading units of the 2nd Panzer Division, Kampfgruppe Böhm, had managed to get to within 5 kilometres of the Meuse River, marking the high watermark of the German advance and the furthest west penetration by German forces during the Battle of the Bulge. On Christmas Day 1944, Combat Command B of the US 2nd Armoured Division attacked the cut-off German Kampfgruppen. The previously overcast snowy skies cleared and Allied fighter bombers joined in. Kampfgruppe Böhm was destroyed. Even as a relief force, Kampfgruppe Holtmeier tried to reach it. Korkenhausen, or what was left of it, managed to withdraw, but only after abandoning all its tanks and armoured vehicles. About 600 men managed to walk back to the 2nd Panzer Division's lines on the night of the 26th of December. The remains of Kampfgruppe Böhm were either taken prisoner or straggled back through the snowy woods to 2nd Panzer Division lines. The German offensive, though kept going by Hitler and to mid-January 1945, had already failed due to a combination of lack of fuel and unexpectedly tenacious American resistance. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also help support my channel at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.